guys, what's up? So another day and another good content is here. Well, guess what? Today I'm with a freelance writer, Chintan. And Chintan has worked with Shout Me Loud and he has also worked with many brands like Founder and what else?
Native ads.
Native Ads, and he also
Neil
worked
Patel.
Neil Patel. So he has been like into the freelance writing business for quite a long time. And today, we are going to pick his brain to understand about how you can also start freelance writing business or become a freelance writer. If you are already a freelance writer, you can learn how you can actually grow your business to four figure, 5 figure, or 6 figure, in fact. And if you're somebody who's actually sitting on the sideline thinking what are the online business opportunity you have, freelance writing is one of the opportunity that can open a lot of doors for you. So we are going to look into all those things today with Chintan. So straight away, let's go to the Chintan.
Hello people, what's up? It's Chintan here. I am a writer and content marketer. I started my writing journey as a freelance writer in 2014 after passing out from BITS Planning Goa as an engineer. Before that as well, I was writing for various media publications and I was working as a technology blogger, as a sports blogger, and engineering didn't make much sense to me. So I thought, okay, let's give this writing thing a shot. It started with writing gigs at iWriter.com. iWriter.com is a content mill whereby you can write articles for clients at like $5, $3. I remember my first article was at the sportsmirror.com, and for that I was paid almost like 50 cents, $1. And from then on, I have built my profile and I have worked my way up to easily get more than $100 to $200 per article. So it's been a journey for me and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
In which year did you start
Writing?
Yes.
So I started my writing thing, I think in 2010 as a sports blogger. And that time I was just like exploring things. It was an internship. I didn't have anything in mind that I want to do this and this is going to be something that I'll pursue. But it got me interested in writing, and from then on I had various gigs as a writer with various companies and various media houses.
Okay, thanks for your introduction, Chintan. And now let's bring the conversation to our audience who are thriving to find an online business opportunity. So my first question to you is, how can somebody who has zero experience, who's probably okay at writing or good at writing, how can they start making this as a money-making business for them?
Alright, so practically what you can do is start with applying at job boards. The best job board I think is jobs.problogger.net, where you will find decent earning opportunities. Besides that, you can go to websites like elance.com or iWriter.com. These are all content mills. You won't get paid much, but you will get the idea of how freelance writing works, how to deal with clients. And from then on, you can gradually start into building your own brand, building your own profile. And for that, I would recommend guest posting at websites. So you can decide on a particular niche. Like say suppose if I'm interested in lifestyle, then I'll target publications that are well known in the lifestyle niche. If I'm interested in marketing, then I'll target websites like Shout Me Loud for getting my name up on their blogs, like getting my articles up on their blogs and proving my credibility. So once you get your name, it's all about the first major publication. So if you get into one publication, from then on it becomes much easier. Getting in that first publication is, I think, the major challenge, and for that you'll need good ideas and good writing skills and some luck to work in your favor.
Okay, so you said like number one, go to the content mail, find freelancing gigs. Second, get yourself published on the top media houses. Anything else, like what about the website, or what about having a blog or a website or a page where people can contact you?
Correct. So I think many writers, what I've found, many writers when they're starting out, they are not very well equipped with WordPress. Although WordPress is not as difficult, but it depends on the person. So if you are more of a creative bent, then I don't think technology might seem a little daunting. So what you can do is simply create your portfolio page with something as simple as Contently. So Contently allows you to create a page like I have my own page at chintanzalani.contently.com. So there you can add your own articles and build a portfolio, and you can share that with clients. Else you can also create an about me page, and there you can also mention the same thing, that you can hire me by doing this. So that is a quicker way to, if you have the goal clear that you want to become a writer and you want to offer your services, then I think that is a quicker way to go about it. Obviously, having a writer's website and building your own audience really helps, but for your first few gigs, maybe you can just go ahead with building your profile on About Me or Content. And from then on, you can build on your website, and that can come in the third month or the second month. Then on.
Oh, solid stuff. Okay, now next question is, so of course I believe there is, of course, money doesn't come easy, and freelance writing is not just another thing, it's a serious stuff. The question is how much money one can expect, the lower and the higher, to make from freelance writing in a day or in a month per article, whatever way you want to add.
Okay, so I think for making, if you talk in terms of making money, I think content marketing is a really great way to get some nice extra income. When you think of yourself as a writer, and when you just start with the love for writing, it's a great place to start at. And you can get paid $50 per article at decent publications, $100 per article as well. That is a great way to start. But if you want to increase your income, then building your own audience and understanding content marketing and how the writing that you're doing is going to affect the business which is hiring you, that will really help. And that is what content marketing is all about. So I think it really helps to understand the business angle of writing.
And how much time does it take to understand that, like, somebody is starting today, like in months or in years?
I think it's really subjective. I cannot say that it will take you this much amount of time, but if you put in the effort and if you keep it very simple and if you refer the right sources, like say if you want to understand content marketing, then maybe you can go to Content Marketing Institute, or if you refer a good guide or a course like South University for understanding blogging or strategy, then I think a couple of months to 3 months is a good space, and it is something that you can do on this side. Invest some time every week in understanding it, as well as time in writing and pitching publications, as well as pitching is the main thing. So you cannot stop cold pitching, you cannot stop marketing yourself. That is the main thing as a writer, that is the main thing as a service provider. So unless you're putting yourself out there, it's nothing. Nobody knows what you know and what is your writing skill set, right? So you can do the content marketing understanding thing on the side, take 2 months, 3 months, maybe 6 months. But meanwhile, you have to keep cold pitching and keep targeting publications and keep reaching out to clients, prospects that, okay, I'm offering content services, I'm offering writing, and this is what I have done so far. So if you're looking for someone, then I would love to come on.
Okay. Thank you for adding all the valuation then. And I believe this question, a lot of bloggers and a lot of writers or aspiring freelance people who want to get into freelance writing can connect to. How do one go about improving their writing skills? And I'm not talking about just, getting online and writing. I'm talking about like becoming a prolific writer just like you.
I'm not that prolific, by the way, but yes, to improve your writing skill set, I think a great way to go about it is starting with reading books. One book which will really help you is on writing, and maybe you can do a course at Udemy. So I started with a course by Shani Raja, who's a Wall Street editor. So that really helped me understand the nuances of writing. So everybody says that they are a writer, and everybody is a writer. Everybody can be a writer, but understanding that what are the subtle nuances, like the simplicity of writing, the elegance of writing, the flow in writing, how you can put together your ideas in a coherent manner and form a compelling narrative. That is something which will come with practice, but at the same time, you will first have to have the lens to view that in your writing. So I think a course will really help you to get started. And then it's the generic advice, which you must have heard everywhere, that you have to read more and you have to write more. So that you have to do it consistently. But if you have the lens to understand that, okay, this is how good writing looks like, then I think you'll be in a much better place to get started.
Cool. So at this question, what are the things that you do every day to, keep honing your writing skills?
All right. So on a daily basis, the first thing is I write. I write for clients. I write for myself. I journal, and I think writing more really helps you to get your ideas on paper, and it improves your writing skill. So writing is essentially getting your ideas in a good, compelling narrative format, right? So it can be non-fiction, it can be fiction, it can be journaling, it can be anything. So writing more is one simple thing that I rely on. And the second thing is, I think, ideas. So I rely a lot on something which is called as associative thinking, forming associations. So it's very subjective. Creativity is a lot of types, and for me what comes naturally is when I use a concept from a different industry in my industry. So suppose if, say, there's a concept in psychology, then maybe I can use that in my writing, in my marketing writing, and make the argument more compelling. If there's, say, an exercise in method acting and I'm exploring method acting, then I can use that in my article on self-improvement, because that is something which is coming, which I formed an association with and which is coming to me. So basically learning more and learning diverse things is also what really contributes to my writing skill. That's what I feel.
And how do you go about improving your word dictionary? Like, instead of using general word, how do you go start making those power words a natural part of your writing?
All right. So I think the first point that I really want to make is simple writing is the most difficult, and simple writing is something which is for the masses. So unless you're really writing for a niche audience, say if you're writing for Harvard Business Review or a very niche audience of, say, artificial intelligence technocrats, you don't need to be very technical. And essentially in journalism and even the novels that are bestsellers generally tend to contain, and this is research proven, this is data backed, that you need to keep your writing very simple. And it's not really about having a better, it's not about wordplay, it's about having more compelling ideas. So that is first thing that I really want to clear. But still, it really helps to have diversity in the words that you use, and being very specific with maybe your emotional vocabulary, or so if you're writing for a very particular audience, then obviously having the technical understanding of the terms is really helpful, and using that is something that will come by reading more. So say suppose if I'm writing on blogging, then content strategy, conversions, email marketing, these are things that should be a part of my vocabulary, and I should understand them in depth, and I should read about them. At the same time, if I'm writing for a general audience, and if I'm, say, targeting a very beginner audience on these subjects, then I will keep it very simple as well. Now if I want to create a vocabulary, one actionable tip, because all of this thing that I've talked about is like negating building a vocabulary, but say if you want to build a vocabulary, something that I have personally tried. So I hired a intern to work with me, and I gave her, from whatever literature I was reading, like maybe it was at The Economist, or maybe it was a novel. So if I found some words, then I just noted down those words in Workflowy, which is a free tool, and from there on I sent that to my intern, and she prepared some questions to go about learning it in Anki. So Anki is a app which helps in active learning, and it's something which you can use for learning words with context, and then they can naturally flow into your writing as well.
Cool. Okay. So, all right. So, you have given some tips, which I think I'm also going to pick them up. But here's the question. So these are the things that you already did to reach here. Now, what are the writing techniques or the things that you're looking forward to integrate into your writing, moving forward?
All right. So the first thing that I struggle with right now is I genuinely like each day, sometimes there's always this underlying feeling like an imposter. Like I'm not really a writer, I'm not really writing well. Because what I tend to do, my writing, obviously it's a creative process and it's very subjective, but my writing process has been very haphazard, and it's more like I collect a lot of information and then I try to make sense of it and put it in a compelling narrative. So that is what I do. But that is not how writing generally is. What writing process looks like for most people is when they create an outline, which is something which I also do. But after creating that outline, they just shut down the internet or shut down the external things and just let it flow. So that flow thing comes to me, but then it's not as compelling as my research backed writing, which I do with the internet on. The internet is in the on mode. So that is something which I'm struggling with, and that is something which I really want to work on. So even recently tried an experiment to go on a metro line where there's no internet, and I'll just sit with my laptop and I'll have an article with me, and for that period of 2 to 3 hours, I'll just sit and write, nothing else. So that is something which I'm working on, and that is what I really, the place that I want to be in. That when the writing just flows.
Yeah, I believe, for you, since you write a lot of technical articles and stuff where you definitely need to research on every single thing. So for those kind of articles, yes, that kind of flow will take a lot of time to come. But I understand what you mean, and yes, that's a nice place to be. Okay, so what are the writing tools that you use day to day?
Writing tools, I would say Grammarly is something which I absolutely love, and it's responsible for fixing all my grammar mistakes. I commit a lot of them, and it even helps with writing's clarity, simplicity, and elegance. It offers really great suggestions, and I recommend people which are struggling with writing to definitely give its premium version a shot. It'll really help. And the second tool is Google Docs. So I keep it very simple. I don't really create an outline in a different tool and something like that. I have a very simple way to go about it. I use Google Docs for my writing bit, and then I use Grammarly for editing. That's it.
Okay. Do you use Hemingway editor?
Yeah, I have used Hemingway editor in the past, but I think a lot of the legwork that Hemingway does is already done by Grammarly. And now if you are at a place whereby you use really long sentences or complex words, then you should really use Hemingway. But now I think I'm in a place whereby mostly my writing is at the place where I don't need Hemingway's functionalities.
Okay. All right, Chindan. So last three questions. And the first one, like you already mentioned about the website, like iWriter, and two more where one can find the writing gig. What are some of the unconventional ways of finding the writing opportunity which actually pays?
All right. So one thing I really feel is the best way to go about this. Maybe it's on your own blog if you have a website. Maybe it's for a client. I did this for a client. You do an influencer roundup. So what is an influencer roundup? It's essentially an article which lists people in your industry who are thought leaders. Like Harsh Agrawal is a thought leader in the internet marketing industry. So if suppose you're writing in the lifestyle niche, maybe you can target companies and you can target the marketing managers of lifestyle brands. Or if suppose you are in the artificial intelligence niche, or if you are in the lawyer niche, then you can target companies that are doing content marketing for lawyers, or you can target lawyers directly, and you can get relevant pieces of value-adding advice for them and compile that in an article and do a roundup. So my article that I did was 35 blogging thought leaders that you should follow for the best blogging advice, and it compiled resources from all of these thought leaders. And through that, I didn't even have this in mind when I was doing this, but as soon as I did that, I got like 4 to 5 inquiries on my writing services, just because I had already given them, shown my credibility that I can do this thing and I'm good at writing. And there was a proof of that writing piece that just knocked it out of the park for most people, because it was a very extensive resource which I had put together with a lot of hard work. And I had mentioned this in my email signature that I'm a copywriter. So I got inquiries, and even Harsh contacted me after that article on inquiring me about my writing services. And from then on, I think it was a snowball effect that started from all because of that article is why my writing career kind of began. Because from then on, I got to know I got a few clients. A couple of them were consistent. Then from there, Harsh hired me. Harsh referred me to my other clients, and so the referral engine sort of started. So I think influencer roundup is a thing which is used repeatedly by many service providers, and it is something that you should definitely give it a shot.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, that's a very unconventional way, Chintan. Um, Now, let's say somebody is doing freelance writing for 2-3 years, and they have a consistent rate. Now, how do one go about increasing their rate? What is the approach that they don't end up losing their existing client or new clients? What is that you would recommend?
Got it. So, as I have already mentioned, you need to understand content marketing. So, content marketing is how can you drive revenue for the business through your services, through your writing. In this particular case, it's writing, right? So you need to understand that at the end of the day, the person who's paying you should not look at you as an expense. If you are an expense, then you're not a headache, but you are somebody who's replaceable, who's a commodity. So you have to come across as someone who's valuable, who can give a return to the client. So if you can understand the business that you're working for and how your writing is adding value to them, and you can always attach numbers to this. So I've personally done this with a couple of people. I think I remember doing this for Harsh as well, and I have done this for my other clients as well. And I always try to go to that approach of, okay, how do I calculate that my writing is generating revenue for them, and how much of revenue will it generate? And from then on, you can anchor your price according to the revenue that you are generating. So obviously this will require a clientele or a pool of clients which have that mindset as well, but those are the clients you should be working for in the first place, right? They have the growth mindset. They are the people who are wanting to invest. They're not just looking at it as a one-off commodity gig. So you have to be in that mindset. And as for your existing clients, so it cannot be a jump of 100% directly. Obviously, it cannot be a jump of 50% also in some cases, but it's all about performing well. So if you have performed well for a while, and suppose if you're hired just right now by someone, then maybe you have not had that conversation because you didn't have writing inks in your belt to have that negotiation dialogue. But now you are in the place that you want to increase your rates and you want to justify it to your client. So it's something which is very natural. You have to understand it's a business relationship first of all, and you have to treat it as that. And then the way to go about it is by giving them a time frame of, say, suppose 3 months to 6 months. That hey, if it's Harsh, that hey Harsh, my rates are going to increase in 3 months, and you have been a consistent client, and I really value that. And in 3 months, this is going to be my rate, and I'm informing you right now. So if you can please accommodate that, then I'll be grateful for your partnership. This is one way to go about it. Another way, if you are with a new client and maybe he's not paying you your rate, then you can tell me, okay, then can we please rediscuss the rates at the end of 3 months or at the end of 6 months, and let's keep some performance matrix. Like suppose, say, the number of shares on your article, or the number of leads that you have generated, or the amount of traffic that your articles are getting on the website, the number of backlinks. Many of these are vanity metrics, but if you can attach it to the metrics that are really relevant to the business and that will help their bottom line, then it can be a conversation that you're having as a consultant and not just as a writer. So that is what I recommend.
Oh man, that was pretty awesome, because I don't think a lot of people actually think that way. They just think this as one-off opportunity that, okay, I'm getting paid $100 and $50, that's all good. But yeah, I really like the way if you actually not think just as a writer, but as a, like what's the value that you're adding to the business. And yes, so you basically get paid for the value and not just for the writing, which is, I think, a very unique way of thinking. And probably that's why I think I kind of like your way of doing things. All right, so now the last one, and I think like this is something will come from your own experience. Is freelance writing job or business or the laptop lifestyle that you live, is it glamorous?
It definitely looks so from the outset. That is the first thing that comes to my mind. So yes, I think, like, as you yourself have been traveling around the world, I have had month-long stints in Bhaksu in Himachal Pradesh and in Kausani in Himachal Pradesh. So I can keep on traveling. I have tried other career avenues like method acting, music, and all of that has been possible because of having this laptop freelance lifestyle. I've moved across cities. I've never been in one city. I've lived in Bangalore. I've lived in Mumbai. I've lived in Delhi and various places. So yes, obviously it has both pros and cons. So that is something. If traveling and meeting new people and this is something that you like, and even the solitary lifestyle, like, because you will mostly be on your laptop, that is something that people miss, and you might be most likely working alone, and even if you have a team, it might be very remote, like they'll be in a different city and you will be conversing maybe on a phone call or something like that, right? Or maybe on a Skype call, or maybe chat, or maybe email. So in that sense, it's not very glamorous. For me as a person, I have a strong foundation of, I have friends in most cities because of they are software engineers, so they are everywhere, scattered across the country. And my family is, I have a strong support system in the form of my family and friends as well. So that is why it's okay. But definitely, I think the con of it is that most people don't realize. They just see that it's not time bound and you get to have all the fun. You get to travel. It's also sometimes very lonely. And for someone like me, it can also become a routine. So beyond a point, everything is a routine. And beyond a point, it can be interesting and you can have the sugar rush kind of that feeling in the initial bit. But I think pros and cons to it. It's glamorous, but it has its own drawbacks as well.
Okay, so yeah, I believe like what you meant to say is, yes, there is bright side of doing your own business, but then the discipline is the key, and understanding how we work and finding the right way of doing things is the key.
Definitely, definitely.
Alright, so I think that was freaking awesome. And Chintan, you added a lot of value here. You added, I believe, like a lot of you who actually wanted to get to know about freelance writing or already there have got a lot of meat here. Meat is actually the real stuff which actually help you to grow. Now, if you have any other question, feel free to ask in the comment section below, and Chintan will come and will you reply?
Yes, definitely, man. Please, I would love to.
Do that. Like, this is your time to actually learn from somebody who's actually doing something. So please go ahead. And if you know somebody who's into freelance writing or planning to start an online business or becoming a freelance writer, send them this video. Let them know about what they can do, what are the possibilities, all the challenges. And I believe all this question has covered that. So with that, I will see you in the next video. Thank you, Chintan, for this. And bye bye.